Hey, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I've gotten a lot of new people coming to check this little misadventure of mine out recently, and thank you. People that keep coming back, thank you. But if you just came to because you saw this, and that video is really doing some amazing play, this car is now sitting outside because I had to have some work done on my garage doors today, my new shop, and so I got everything out, and I figured, well, most of everything, and then I got everything out because they're all outside, and I kind of parked them in a special way. I'm going to do a couple different videos here, but I wanted to show you this car, but I also wanted to show you the one other car here that I don't do a lot of videos on. So I've done like one, maybe two videos on it, and that is this. This is my 2023 Corvette Stingray. Rapid blue, tension blue interior, tinted windows, PPF, blah, blah, blah. This car is a driver. This has like almost 16,000 miles on it. I wanted to show you something real quick. It is February 26th, I think, and I don't know if you can tell, this is dirty. I've been driving this, not in the salt, well, one time in the salt. Sorry, Corvette people, but I parked it here today, and then I got this out, and I parked it here. And you may say, okay, great, a new GM and an old GM, but the reason why these two are here together is the main purpose of this video. And if I got a birthday coming up very soon, and I'm going to be 55 years old. So I was 14 years old when this car was new. And you may say, okay, great, you like old cars, you're old. If you're my age, older, or you're younger, and you know what I'm about to say, good. But if you don't know what I'm about to say, check this out. The reason this car is so significant, this is a Pontiac 6000. Now they had a Pontiac 6000. They had a Pontiac 6000 LE, which is a luxury edition. I have a gold one that is kind of nice, and it's kind of a, those 6000 and LEs were family cars. This is a special touring edition, STE. Now, if you ever seen some of the comments on the thing, and it's funny, they call these the Goosties, because people would mistake that 6 for G and G-O-O-O-S-T-E, Goostie. I have a 6000 LE. Those are called, Ghoulies. But this is a 6000 Special Touring Edition. So go through, and please, I'm going to apologize. I live right, I don't live here. I store my cars here. I grew up here. I'm right off of the main road here in Pittsburgh, and we get a lot of helicopters, traffic, everything on here. That is Special Touring Edition, and special badges. Now, I want you to see just how stunningly clean. My cousin stopped by today when he saw I was here and looked over, and he was a GM and all Mark mechanic, and he was showing me things. He said, I cannot believe how original this car. He wanted to see this car because it is so original, and he showed me a few things that I didn't know about the car, and it's very cool. So the only kind of work I'm gonna have to do this car is, so see the flat paint kind of gone from here. Now this has been ceramic coated, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little painter's tape here. I'm going to clean these up, Q-tip, everything, keep the paint safe, and I'm going to touch up the flat black on here. I don't want to remove these badges. I think I have 3 original STE badges, but I'm not going to remove them. I'm going to preserve these, Pontiac as well. So you go through the calling card of calling cards, Pontiac aluminum wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes, because it was new and novel when they called it out. In the 50s, if it was an automatic, they would tell you Hydromatic, Ultramatic, whatever matic it was. They would call that out because it was special. 4-wheel disc brakes. Then later, anti-lock brakes. then, airbags. They would call out airbags. I remember a few years ago, they would say hybrid on them. Like, hey, look, my giant truck is a hybrid. Yay, it gets 18 miles a gallon instead of the normal 12. Whatever. New technology for its time, 1984. Now, the reason it's parked with this car is that these two cars share a very prestigious award between them, separated by about 40 years. So 1983, the Pontiac Special Touring Edition came out and was named to Car and Driver's 10 Best list for 1983. 1984, they improved it slightly. The disc brakes came on, a digital dash came about with a tachometer, and it again made the Car and Driver 10 Best. When at the end of this video, I promise you, hold me to this, I will read over the comments from this car in 1984 from the Car and Driver 10 Best. And I will also read over the Car and Driver 10 Best for this car for 2023. Now this, I don't know how many years this has made the list. It's still on the list this year for 2025, and it's well earned. And when it comes down to it, I'm not going to compare, okay, 0 to 60 time to 0 to 60 time, stopping time, whatever. The crux of why these cars both have made the list, in my estimation, if I read it correctly, is that these are incredible bargains for their class. In 1983, 84, 85, the 3 years this car made the list, this was the best performing family sedan that you could buy from an American manufacturer. That's not my opinion as a thing. That was automotive experts of the day talking about the specialness of these cars. They were tuned, they performed very well. The engine was a little bit more powerful, but okay, you had the special call-outs with the little driving lights in the center. It had a plusher appointment. The carpet was better, more of what you would expect on a German car. They were going after the BMW and the Mercedes-Benz and the Audis of the day. That was their competition. 130 horsepower. Believe that was right in line with the horsepower of their contemporaries from Germany of the time. And the other thing was, and in some of the ads of the time, it tells you that they talk about, look what you get, and it's not as much as those cars. And that was a big selling point. You could get an American-built car. It wasn't as much money. It was great performance, and it was something that you could be very much proud to own. Now, I say that because this is my 2023 Stingray. And let me go into the thing. I grew up in a GM family. We had Pontiacs. Before that, we had Chevrolets. I was a GM person. We ended up with a Buick in 1985, which sits behind me in this garage. And we're a very proud GM family. That's what we had. The thing about GMs always were, they were kind of the best car you could get for the money, and there were more expensive cars. Chevy and Pontiac went up, and but Chevys always had a lot of bang for the buck, and Corvettes as well. And this really took an interesting changeover when I was 5 years old, 1975. We were promised a mid-engine vet by 1980. Never happened. Then they teased one in 1990. The Serve 3, thought that was going to be something I was going to buy when I hit 30. Never happened. When this came out, it was so significant. Everyone my age and older, and then the younger people that understood this, I want to put it in perspective of what someone of my time was thinking when this car was introduced. This car is, and I know you love your Ferraris, you love your Lamborghinis, you love that 0 to 60 times, whatever. This is an exotic car that can be serviced at a Chevy dealer. I was just talking with someone today, and I said, I don't know when hypercar came out, but it was pretty much after something like this had come out. And, this has all the properties of a supercar. Now, this is the Stingray. You can get the E-Ray, you can get the Z06. Now you're going to be able to get the ZR1. ZR1 is just whumping the crud out of the hypercars. They had to create a whole new class because this was the Ferrari that started at $59,900 and could be oil changed at any Chevy dealer, almost every Chevy dealer. And that's one of the reasons, the main reason that this car, other than it's a fantastic car, take the badge off. You don't call it a, Corvette, whatever. If you put a Ferrari badge on this and no one knew what a C8 Stingray was, people would believe that this was a Ferrari. It's a gorgeous car. It's a beautifully driving car. It's a well put together car. Apologize for my dirtiness of the car, but it's lived in. My son and I drive this car. Yeah, I like coffee. Tension blue interior, and I tinted the windows. I do love the windows being tinted. I have a clear roof, and you can see it's blue tinted. It's really neat. Anyway, this is quality interior, quality powertrain. That pushrod V8. I'm sorry, but it's just perfect for me. I love a Z06. I'd love an E-Ray. I'd love a ZR1. But for what I paid for this car, and when I drive this car. I enjoy this car. I somehow, you kind of forget how special this car is because it's so good at being a car. And that's why a car like this will always be considered one of the best things that General Motors ever did. And for its era, it's phenomenal. But beyond its era, it will be phenomenal. This car behind it kind of got lost in the shuffle. The 6000 was not updated. There were continuous tweaks to it. You could get fuel injection in 85, and then in 88, when the sales really tanked off, they offered all-wheel drive on this car. In 89, they offered all-wheel drive as standard on here. They redid the back window on the 89s. Really good looking, inexpensive, in the scheme of things, update to the car. But these cars had the same basic dashboard, same basic panels up front, all that stuff. The trim differences and everything, there were changes. But these cars weren't updated from 82 through 91 when they went out of production. 89, 90, and 91, the rear window was different. A lot of the other stuff was the same exact. They changed the engine, I think, in 89, the 6-cylinder. But these kind of got forgotten. These will never get forgotten. But the reason this was a 10 best vehicle was it was so good. For someone my age who was a kid growing up in the 70s and the 80s, cars, and especially American cars, were not very well received in the world. You went from being the standard of the world to the standard butt of jokes. Not going to sugarcoat it. These cars, the Luxo barges and everything, and I love the Luxo barges. I love the big full-frame cars. I got 2 of them in there. I love them. They're family members. But when this came out, was it the perfect car? No. But was it better than the sum of its parts? Hell yes. And the 6000 STE, among any other car of the early to mid 80s, is special, and it's gotten forgotten. Well, it's not going to get forgotten with me. This car has survived its 41 years stunningly well, and I just pinch myself that I got a chance to get this car. And I don't take anything for granted, but if something happened to this car, I could get another one. Well, after this year, you're not going to be able to get Rapid Blue, and that makes the car for me. But this car right here, this car is a history lesson. This car is a, open this up. I want to show you. Now, look here. This is a thicker carpet. If you saw my other video, you saw that. Now, this is the suede. This is the Palex. Adjustable seat here. Adjustable seats here. Manual. So your fore and aft, the bolsters, the rake, and the recline on here. For a manual adjusted seat, it's pretty well put together. Power seats, I think, came the next year. This had a high-end stereo. It wasn't Bose, but I forget what they called it. AMR, have to... acoustically matched response. How about that? And This car had, like I said, the rear had the finer cloth suede carpets. It was a touch above the parts bin General Motors that we that was rapidly becoming the kind of, I guess, the butt of jokes. People would say, oh, you know, there was a Fortune magazine, Money magazine, and they have a celebrity. It was a Chevy, the Pontiac 6000, the old Cutlass Sierra, or what did they call it? And then the Buick Century. And those were the A bodies for the 4 divisions that had A bodies. Cadillac did not have one of these. And they were lined up, and the roof lines and everything were so identical that it was a mock of GM's styling. But this is a good style car. Remember, this car was in 1982, 83, 84, 85. It was pretty nicely cutting edge tailored. Nothing was rounded except the Audi 5000. And then in 1986, the Taurus and the Sable. And then overnight, this became like a leisure suit in the early 80s, whatever. It just suddenly became out of fashion, or so to speak. But these cars were so darned significant. They were good performers. They were never high volume cars. They were the car that, kind of a halo car. You had to search these out. And then I think in 83, there was like 10,000 of them. There was about 20,000 in 84. 25,000 in 85, roughly 26,000 in 86. And then 87, 88, it went off the down. And you were facing a lot of competition. I mean, you had a nice looking Taurus and Sable. I don't think there were nice cars as this. We had an early 1986 Sable, and we had a 1987 Ford Taurus when new. And I will tell you, they weren't very impressive cars. They were junk by 75,000 miles. The early ones of these weren't, I can't really like brag about them, but then they got better and better and better. And the Taurus and Sable, I imagine, got better and better and better. But we had the early ones, and they were not very good cars. They had a lot of bugs to be worked out of them. Anyway, this car is, if you didn't know how big a deal this car was, then discover it. Go look up Car and Driver 10 Bests for 83, 84, 85. You're gonna see this car, old Motor Week reviews. This is a big deal. And it's kind of like the forgotten great GM. And I want to just let you know why I get amazed over my 85 LE, which was the run-of-the-mill car, because it just has sentimental value. But this was a totally different level. This was a special car. Doctors, attorneys, they wanted these cars. This was going after the market that General Motors didn't think they could get, and they got it. Did they keep up with it? They did not. That's why Pontiac, in a lot of ways, is no longer, well, that's why they went by the wayside. If they would have continued on the scale of a really finely crafted American version of like a German sports sedan, you know, you might be getting your 2025 STE at your local Pontiac dealer, maybe. But I had this out here today, and it's 50 degrees. Yeah, thankfully I'm not wearing shorts, but I had to get it out. I had to show it with this because I'm incredibly excited to have any of these cars, but two Car and Driver's 10 Best, separated by roughly 40 years. It's pretty awesome. So thank you for watching. Now, I'm going to be doing a couple other videos today because I had to get things out of the garage. So my big passion are these Celicas. And I love that Denside Bronco. I have a history with Denside Fords. And there's my Celica. So I will tease you for when I get that video together, because I haven't shot it yet. So anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, communicate, reach out. You're going to see me, you're going to see this car, those other cars behind me, a lot on the East Coast, especially at Carlisle. Come back. I'm also on Instagram. Don't do a lot on that as much, but I'm going to start posting a little bit more back on there. But on YouTube, on TikTok, check it out. And I do appreciate your time. And hopefully it's fun stuff that jogs some memories or shows you something you didn't know on there. That's what I'm after. And I like having fun with these cars, and I like sharing them with others. Have a great day. Okay, here is the January 1984 edition of Car and Driver magazine. This was the second annual 10 Best issue. And I wanted to show you, and I also wanted to clarify, like be a little more specific with one of the reasons that this car was a little more unusual. The price cap, this was the second year, as I said, but they instituted a $30,000 price cap. And this was David E. Davis, who said, any company that can't build a great car for that kind of money should be in some other business. The Car and Driver of this time, and even today, but of this time, was something very unique. You had the Audi 5000 S Turbo. Now that was a $16,000 vehicle on there. So, you know, this was one of the main competitors right there to your Pontiac 6000 STE. And it was pretty reasonably priced in comparison to, you know, a lot of vehicles. You think about what a top of the line Audi would be compared to, you know, a domestic car, any car. I mean, that was a more reasonably priced vehicle. The Honda Accord here, so your Honda Accord, first year built in the US, was, now this was a base price of $85.49. These probably went a little higher than that. You could probably get about 10 to 12 on there. The base model Pontiac 6000 was about an $8,000, $9,000 car. But what I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna read through it. The Pontiac 6000 STE is still the nicest four-door sedan Detroit has to offer the enthusiast driver. We selected it as our one of the 10 best cars last year, and here it is again. It is a car that we regularly recommend to those friends foolish enough to ask for our advice. And generally, their only complaint has been that it's difficult to find a dealer with any STEs in stock. If we ran General Motors, we'd ask Pontiac Division to breathe on the STE's V6 engine a bit, give it some more top-end power, perhaps through the use of a turbocharger and a 5-speed manual gearbox. The turbo never happened. The 5-speed happened, I believe, in 86. Maybe 85, but I think it was 86. Would love to get one of those. And beautifully staged ratios. Then we'd go home and tell, this is another one. Then we go home and tell our wives that today we made an excellent car, almost perfect. Last year we complained that there was no tachometer in the STE's otherwise first-class instrument panel, and now there is. So this year we want more power and a 5-speed manual, and we'll see what happens next year. A few years back, when people were wondering if there was even going to be a Pontiac division anymore, Pontiac's general manager announced that his division was going to start building excitement. Sneers from the audience. Now, by golly, Pontiac has gone and done exactly that. No more sneers. So you had about $2,000 more than a comparable base price for a Audi 5000. And this was pretty much fully equipped. There were two options: the interior, that suede interior, and a sunroof, I believe, were the only two options. So you're probably about less than $15,000 when it came to that. 173 cubic inch V6, 135 horsepower, 3-speed automatic. And it got 21 miles per gallon city. Wow, what about the 3,000 pound curb weight? That's pretty interesting. So when you look through and see this issue, I don't know if it's available online anywhere, but one of the reasons, now you saw this, and I didn't really specifically say it in the video that you just saw, but one of the things that was better about this car, it wasn't just it had nicer carpet and it had those driving lights and, you know, a little bit more powerful of an engine. It had a special rack. It had special shocks in the back, air ride suspension in the back, and that's part of that compressor package that, I don't know if I didn't open the trunk on this, but in my other video, you see it has a compressor. And it had better handling, had the 4-wheel disc brakes, it had a special rack, and it handled better than most vehicles. And so they were able to tune a vehicle that had very basic underpinnings, but, you know, the muscle cars of, you know, 2 decades prior, that was kind of the same thing, except this time, instead of full raw horsepower, they worked on handling, you know, ergonomics, enjoyableness of the whole experience. And they took a nice, good basic car and made it a little more premium for not a whole bunch more money. So that's what's so special about this Pontiac. And again, it was on the first 10 best list, the second 10 best list, which is this, and the third 10 best list. And real quickly, the Chevy Corvette this is the 23 issue. It's on the 24 and the 25. And I do, this first paragraph I'll read, and you can go on probably and read this one. It's very, I'm sure, readily available. Best cars are narrowly focused, often narrowly focused on cost-cutting luxury, ferocious performance, or utter practicality. Set too many goals and it's easy to arrive at forgettable mediocrity. This Chevrolet Corvette, however, defies the notion that you can't please everyone. It's a sophisticated grand tourer, hard-edged track rat, and everyday grocery getter with dual trunks. It's a Targa or convertible, relatively attainable, or knocking on the upper cap of their 10 best limit, which I think is 110,000 by the 23, and I don't know what they raised it to by 25. What a difference for inflation. Throw on winter tires. It's completely usable year-round, wherever you live. And although it's been 3 years since this mid-engine Corvette has hit the streets, now 5 years, it still turns heads. It still does today. Seeing one is an event even now. And they talk about the Z06 because it was still under the price cap there. And the Stingray, which is what I have. And as you go through, this was like 65.8 to 109.295. Of course, these went much higher than that, but you get the idea. We had, you know, 2 vehicles that, of all the cars available for the year in which they looked at it, these cars were considered by the editors, and this was the original, you know, David E. Davis era of Car and Driver, legendary, that set the standard that they do continue today with this. Made the 10 best list. It's probably one of the most special, in my estimation, awards a car can get. And, you know, so anyway, so thank you for watching. And again, like, subscribe, and, you know, comment. Tell me what you're thinking on there. And I do appreciate it. Have a great day.